Hello, Juju Beans, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, welcome. Today I'm going to be encouraging you in the waiting process. If you've been waiting on God and been waiting for Him to perform a miracle, if you've been waiting on Him to fulfill the promise that He made. So we're just going to get right into it today. So waiting on God, as we know, can be very difficult. It is probably one of the most difficult things to do because you're in this period of you're expecting and knowing God is going to do something, especially if He has promised it. But you're in this period of thinking it's going to happen soon, and then you've been waiting, and then you're still waiting, and you're still waiting. And so the problem and struggle is our timing not being God's timing. And during that period, it can get rough. Believe me, I know it can be very hard and exhausting waiting for that miracle, waiting for that breakthrough that God promised that He was going to do. But it's through our waiting times when God really reveals Himself to us. It's during the waiting period. It's during the waiting period when you come to really know God on a deeper level, and your connection develops and grows extremely strong with Him. And during your waiting period, you are having to rely on the Lord for this thing. You're having to put your full trust in Him that He is going to do what He has promised. Obviously, you can do what you want and you can try and jump ahead and make it happen on your own, but how many times have we done that? How many times have we tried to help God along in that process and ended up delaying that blessing even more, ended up pushing back the wait period because God was like, no, I told you I'm going to do this. And now by you trying to do what you were trying to do, now you've caused other problems, and now it just sets you back again. So I know it can be difficult, and you get tempted, God, I need to do something. We as humans feel like we have control, but you need to let go of that illusion of control because God is the only one in control. He has literally mapped out your days. He can see the path before you, so He knows where you need to be. He knows where you are, and He knows all those in-betweens to get to that place. And I know it's hard, especially for a lot of people. They feel like they have to be in control of the situation. They feel like they have to have their life in their hands, when we are called to surrender literally everything to the Lord. We are called to leave it in His hands and to just trust Him. His biggest thing is He wants to see your trust, your faith, and your obedience to Him. Your obedience is far better than your sacrifice. So we look at Abraham, and what did God promise Abraham? He promised that He was going to give him a son. He said, you will get a son from your own body. And Abraham believed Him. He believed the Lord. But years went by, and another year went by, and another year went by. And finally Sarah was like, God promised this thing. He said He was going to do this, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm getting old in age, so maybe you should just go with my maid, go impregnate her, and her kids will be my kids. So she tells Abraham to go and to sleep with the maid and to have a kid by her. He ends up getting her pregnant. She has a son, Ishmael. But what happened? By them rushing the process and not trusting in God, not relying on Him or waiting for Him to fulfill what He promised He was going to do, it caused opposition. Now the maid thought she was higher and mightier than Sarah, and that made Sarah mad. Because she's like, I'm the wife, I'm the wife. But the maid was like, I'm the one who had the kid. Yeah, this is my family. And so it caused strife with her husband, with Abraham, because she got mad at him for doing it after she told him to do it. You know how women can be. So she told him to do it, and then she gets mad that he did it because now he has this kid. Now she thinks she's better than her, and it's causing division within their household. And so we see he's still waiting. They're still waiting for the promise, and God told him, Ishmael is not the promised kid. I told you that you would have a son with Sarah, and I told you in due time it will come to pass. So finally they get to the period where God's appointed time comes to pass, and now she gets pregnant. Sarah gets pregnant, and they have the promised son of Isaac. But there was still that strife and division between the family because of Hagar and Ishmael. And so Sarah told Abraham, you need to send them away. Like, they're causing problems. I don't want them around no more. We have our kid. Like, they need to leave. So now Abraham had to release Hagar and his own flesh and blood and send them on their way into the wilderness. And, you know, he had a bond with Ishmael, that being his first son, that being his only kid for years before he had Isaac. And so now he has heartache and he has heartbreak, and they're on their journey, and now they're put into a crazy situation because of the circumstances. So by us trying to rush and help God along the way, what we might consider we're doing, but us trying to do that, you're causing other obstacles, and you're causing destruction, not just for yourself, but even also other people in the process, depending on obviously what it is. So we have to learn to just trust in God, rely on him, and just remember, I know it's difficult, but his timing is not our timing. He knows better than we do. He knows what he is doing. He knows when it's best for us, because like I said, during that waiting period, you are growing. You are hopefully getting closer to the Lord, learning more about him. You are growing as a person and getting rid and shedding all of that the old you, and letting go of things that weren't necessarily the best parts of you, and you're becoming a better person. He's preparing you for that blessing, for when it comes, you are able to steward it, and you're able to keep it, and you're able to hold him still as your number one, and not let this blessing change you for the worse, and not let this blessing get a hold of you, if you get what I'm saying. But yeah, so waiting on God, we have to wait on his timing. You look throughout all the Bible of who waited. Look at everybody who waited. Abraham waited 25 years before he finally had Isaac. Joseph waited 13 years before his dream was fulfilled of him finally becoming the prince of Egypt. David waited 13 years before he finally ascended the throne. We see all these Bible legends and what they had to go through, and these long, what we consider long periods of waiting times before their promise was fulfilled, before their dreams were fulfilled, before they got the blessings that God has promised them. It's all a process. It's a process for us, but it's a good process that the Lord is doing, because he knows it is going to be beneficial. And he promises that those who wait on the Lord will never be put to shame. He says that in Psalm 25:3. He tells us in Psalm 27:14, do not be impatient. Wait for the Lord, and he will come and save you. Be brave, stout-hearted, and courageous. Yes, wait, and he will help you. But throughout all the Bible, he tells us to wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord, wait on the Lord, wait for him, and he will deliver you. Wait for him, he'll never put you to shame. Wait for you, for he'll never fail you. And if you've been waiting for a while, remember in Isaiah 40:31 that those who wait on the Lord will renew your strength. You shall mount up with wings like eagles. You shall run and not grow weary. You shall walk and not faint. So if you're feeling weak, if you feel like you can't, like it's just taking forever and you can't wait any longer, remember that the Lord will renew your strength. Ask him to renew you. Ask him to help you to get through this waiting period, to help you trust him and his process, because you know ultimately in the end, he has promised you the victory. He tells you in James 1:4 to let patience finish the good work that it started in you. And you're like, what good work? But it's always, see, life is like, we look at life and understand it backwards. We don't understand why certain things are happening while we're going through it. but we can look back and see, oh, now I see why I had to go through that. Now I see why that had to happen. Now I see. We get the big picture at the end. It's almost like a movie. You're watching a movie and you're like, what's going to happen next? Like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Or they're dropping hints in the beginning, hints that you don't realize is going to add up at the end of the movie. And then when it's all over, you were like, oh, wow, like that was, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And oh, I see why they were doing that in the beginning, like, because they were preparing you for this part. And so we live life backwards, basically, or I should say we understand life backwards. So as you're waiting, patience is going to develop character. It's going to develop this faith in God and this trust that He is asking you for. And it's going to, like I said, develop your character. It's going to grow you. It's going to build you. It's going to make you better in the end. Even though it's difficult, even though it's hard, it is working for your good. I hope that this message encouraged you. If you are still struggling, ask God to help you with your waiting period. If He promised it, just remember, if He promised it, He is going to do it. It is going to happen. It's already set. If you believe Him, if you believe the words that He has spoken, you're just waiting for that day. You're just waiting for that moment, for that period of time that He has already set and aligned to all come together. So just trust in the Lord. Trust that His plans for you are for good and not evil. And put your hope and confidence in Him, believing that all things are always working together for your good. So that is it for this message. I hope this encouraged you. I hope that this was helpful. If you know somebody who's in their waiting period, in their waiting process, and maybe they're struggling and they are struggling with this waiting period, send this message to them, encourage them, lift them up, remind them of God's promises, and stay in His word. Because when you stay in His word, it will fill you up and it will get you through those difficult moments. Hit the little notification bell anytime you want to be alerted when I finally post. Like and subscribe. It pushes out for the algorithm of YouTube to push out to more people who might need to hear this message, for more people to hear the good news, to hear the gospel, to hear Jesus Christ maybe once in their life. Comment down below if there's anything that you are struggling with. If you need prayers, I'll be praying for all who comment. And if you don't have your name, make sure you leave your name and then also what you need me to pray for, and I'll gladly pray for you. I'm keeping like a journal of everybody who's been needing prayers, and I'm writing their names and writing down their prayer requests. So if you would like for me to add you to that list, I would gladly do so, and I'll gladly be praying, and I would gladly pray for you. I thank you once again for tuning in, and until next time, may God bless you.